My name is Pablo Ravizoli. I've been in the military for about 10 years. I joined the infantry in the National Guard and deployed to Bosnia initially back in 2001 with Jonesy and Brian here. And in 2003 to 2004, am I correct on that? 04 and 5.
5.
Thank you. 03 was the first one. Memory issues is part of the symptoms, by the way. From spring 04 to spring 05, we went to Iraq. Jonesy, Patrick, Brian, and myself were in the same unit. And we spent a year there. The first day that we arrived, I always take the thunder on this one, I guess. You know, the first guy that tells the story. But the first day that we arrived was a very rough one. We received a rocket attack even as we were unpacking our stuff, getting ready to learn our way around, and lost a couple of guys. One of them was killed by the rocket. Another was pretty seriously wounded, so he ended up going to the hospital and being in intensive care, and you know, he did make it through, but very rough 24 hours hitting the ground as soon as we were there. It was definitely a lot of reality in a very short amount of time. Not too long after that, about a day and a half later or so, 2 days later, we went back out. We were the only combat power on the post at that moment, so we went back out to try to find who's shooting rockets at us so we could kill or arrest them, basically, or detain them. And we sort of found someone who was a highly skilled team of I don't know, you know, you could call them insurgents or whatever they call themselves. And we were attacked again, one of our platoons, and we lost another one of our guys to direct fire, to machine gun fire. So within about 2 or 3 days, we lost 2 guys in our company, which is stressful, to say the least. It was scary, not only thinking that after all these years of training, okay, what would happen if somebody got hurt? What would happen if somebody got killed? Like, what do? You kind of do those things, but you never realize the way that your world just gets turned upside down when somebody who used to be there that you knew is no longer there. So that's a rough time to go through. And then you start doing the math, and if you lose like 2 guys in 2 days, and you know you don't have 365 guys, you're just like, looks like I'm not going to make it. So it's hard to be motivated and think that you're going to go out there and make a difference and make it home. So that, again, is like another level of stress. For me, I was experiencing at the time, when I first started the deployment, I was on the night shift, so we were patrolling at night, which can be an advantage for us. But so it's a little bit stressful. Anyway, I'd get in my truck. I was lucky that it was nighttime because it was only like 90 degrees at night. I'd get in my truck and I was sweating profusely and just racing thoughts, and even though like I knew what I had to do and I was doing it, mentally I was like it was like a roller coaster ride, even though I was sitting perfectly still in my truck waiting to leave the post. And I'm, you know, I assume that most of the other guys were going through the same thing. So if you're scared, you don't share it. If you've got something you can say that isn't going to deter everybody from wanting to go out and complete our mission for that night, then you say it. A lot of times we use humor as a crutch. We learn to joke about things that no one ever should joke about, but whatever it takes to sort of get on a positive attitude and go do your thing. Probably around the 3rd or 4th week, it got easier. For me anyway, around a month in, it was almost like my brain just couldn't be stressed out anymore. I no longer stressed out getting in my truck or whatnot, and just the thought didn't come to mind, and I was sort of numb to it. And I went out there and didn't think about it, and it became like, well, we'll ignore the fact that you may not come home today, and we'll just do it. Go do the job, come home. If we come home, we'll get something to eat and play some video games, and we'll do it again tomorrow. So that was pretty much how most of the deployment went for us. Since I'm probably about 6 of the 7 minutes through, when I came home, what I experienced was not drinking right away. It took me about a month to start drinking, but certainly a lot of self-medication via alcohol, going out to the bars, drinking a whole lot, going out with the group, which is the only people and settings that we found ourselves comfortable was with the guys that we deployed with. And I felt a lot of being tense, being impatient, totally incapable of paying attention to anything for more than a few seconds. When you're in deployment and you're driving down the road, every pile of garbage is potentially going to go boom. Every pile of bricks, every person, you never know. So all you're doing is like looking around, evaluating, should I look some more? Nope, that guy looks cool. That pile of garbage, who knows? So you're always evaluating, and you train your brain to just continue to, change focus, like, maybe hundreds or thousands of times in like a 6 or 7 hour patrol. So when you come home, it's hard to break that. So all you're doing is doing this all the time, looking at, who's coming in through the door, who's coming out, what do people look like, body language, everything. And it's crazy. Tried going back to school and couldn't. I found myself unable to focus enough to learn anything. Tried to go back to get a post-grad degree. Thank God I got my degree before I went. Otherwise, I wouldn't have finished it. My way of dealing with things was, if not to drink, to drive fast. I was a very dangerous driver on the road, because when I was driving fast enough, if people either in the vehicle with me or near me on the road were pushed to their or outside of their comfort zone, then I was on an equal plane. And I could win when they're outside their comfort zone. And so it was like that search for control that you end up coming home to. When you're away, you can't, no matter how much you do the right thing, you can't control who's going to die next. So it's kind of mind-boggling that it doesn't really matter what I do. The guys who don't do what they're supposed to and the guys who do, there's no difference in who's going to go next. So it's a race to see how many things, how many factors you can control to try to come home at the end of the day, from patrolling, from anything. And so I drove really fast a lot till I got a wake-up call and was in a pretty violent accident. Luckily, I didn't hurt anyone else or myself. And I sort of learned my lesson for the time being. I guess the last thing I'll mention is emotionally, a lot of difficulty emotionally. I came home completely numb, unable to be compassionate about anything, happy about anything, sad. There was only 2 modes, and there were 3 modes. There was numb, which was about 95% of the time. Then once in a while, if I saw an animal get hurt or watched vets on television crying about their experiences in war, I would break down, like totally break down. And then on the other extreme, if I felt pressed, I could get very angry very quickly. So that was my emotional side of things, and certainly people don't understand. So you do a lot of explaining why you have no feelings and you don't care that somebody died, or you don't care that, whatever. It just becomes very trivial, those things. Or you got to explain why you reacted with such anger to something that didn't warrant it. So it's a lot of explaining, and it takes people around you, it takes a lot of patience on their part to put up with us when we first come home. I guess that's all I'm going to share for now, because I just took like 20 minutes. So. Go ahead. This is Brian.